Greetings, everybody. My name is Thami Zungu, a classical voice and choral practitioner. I teach at Tshwane University of Technology. I also teach at Wits University.
Good evening, good day, good afternoon, depending on when you're going to view this. My name is Letlhogonolo Moaisi. I'm a music teacher. I teach music theory. I teach piano, and I'm also a conductor. Yeah, so Babu Zungu, today we're actually here to summarily talk about the music that has been prescribed for the inaugural TMF NCE, the Tiro Mpane Foundation National Choral Eisteddfod. And since we haven't had a physical workshop with the conductors, it is only fitting that we do this kind of podcast, maybe to try and reach out or to try and assist somebody out there who might find this useful in terms of the music that has been prescribed. So today, we'd just like to have a discussion based on the prescription itself. Yeah. So maybe starting it off, what is it that we can help the conductors or the musicians out there in terms of the prescription? Because looking at the prescription, we have extracted from operas, but most importantly, we have also extracted from operettas, which is something that we know that it might be new to some choirs. So, what sort of advice do we have, or what sort of insight can we give to those choirs regarding the operators?
Yeah. So I think it's very important to kind of define these terms, the opera and operetta. What are the differences and what are the similarities? So for me, I'm going to start with the similarities. And the similarities are that, they're pertaining to drama, they're pertaining to theater. So when you're dealing with drama in theater, it's very important to know about the character of the piece. So if you compare it to, let's say, a mass or an oratorio, you take a mass, you take a piece called Gloria in Excelsis Deo from a mass, normally the second movement. So the words are straightforward. Yeah. Glory to God to the highest. And everybody sings the same thing. You might have a quartet, but they will be singing the same thing. Yes. But operetta and opera, it's about drama. You find people saying, different things within that work. For example, in the repertoire that we've chosen, you have Marta, you have works by Bernstein, Candide. You also have, yes, Fledermaus and all of that. There are characters in those operettas. So it's very important to know the fundamental things about theater, drama, stage. Yes. Who are you as a character? What are you saying? To whom are you saying that? And why? So it doesn't only relate to the soloist, but also the chorus. Because now in opera and operetta, the chorus is a character in its own. So they need to know what they are saying to whom and why, because that will determine how they project those meanings. So those are similarities.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense a lot. And it's like the conversation we had the other time, that the the choruses, sometimes we get tempted to just choose an extract that doesn't have soloists, based on the fact that maybe we do not have soloists that might be able to carry the work, and we decide to go on for choruses only. Fair enough. That is good from an artistic side, and also from an administrative side as well. But also we need to bear in mind what we've just mentioned, that choruses in opera or operetta are not merely just choruses or a choir, if I should put it that way. If you take a chorus, it can be a chorus of peasants, it can be a chorus of villagers, it can be a chorus of soldiers. So there's a particular message that they carry, but most importantly, it's a particular kind of drama that they carry. So I also wanted us to speak to the differences of the differences between opera and operetta. Now, the operettas, as one might already predict, they come after the operas, and in as much as operettas are now popular in German, but the culture of this unique genre actually was created by French performers. We're told it was created by French performers who, interestingly enough, were using this culture to perform songs through singing and dancing, performing the operas, the old or well-known operas, as parodies or satires. And that culture actually carried on to the now, where you find a lot of operettas that are a satirical version of one opera that you know. For example, we have an opera called Orfeo e Eurydice, and then Offenbach came in later, a French composer, wrote an operetta about Orfeo on the underground. So you can just tell, for example, there that the first difference that you find between opera and operetta is that operettas are mostly on light-hearted themes. They're on light-hearted themes. They are not, I don't even think there's a tragic operetta.
No.
They are just on light-hearted themes. They are satirical, and number two, they are quite short than in terms of duration. They are quite short than the operas themselves. Another thing that is worth mentioning, because we do have operas, of course. In opera, you find what we call it recitativo.
Yes.
You find recit. Meanwhile, with operettas, it's more like musical. You find spoken dialogues.
Yes.
Some operettas have got a lot of spoken dialogues instead of this sung recitativo. I don't know if there are other differences I'm leaving.
No, I think you mentioned all of them. So once in a while in operetta you might find recitativo accompagnato. Once in a while, that will bring in the story and the speech, but most of the time it is dialogue, as you are saying. It needs a different kind of projection, because even that dialogue is not your everyday kind of speech. So it needs some kind of a different technique of projection now, because we are projecting for this big crowd, that each and every word must be enunciated and pronounced, properly.
Why do music?
Yeah, and then we have to sing, So actually, I might even compare it to Singspiel, with the magic flute, for example, in Mozart, because even then it ends positively, it doesn't. It's always positive.
Yeah. I think what we've just mentioned also make a very, very good example with recitativo accompagnato. One of the operators that we've prescribed, or TMF has prescribed, is Fledermaus.
Yes.
And from Fledermaus, we took two extracts. And I'd like to speak to the first extract, Herr Chevalier, which builds up to Brie Line. So when Herr Chevalier starts, you actually feel that the music is conversational. Prince Orlovsky is having starts this conversation around in the ball. But as you say, from old operas or from strict opera point of view, that would come across as a recit. It would, if it were Mozart, it would be just a strict recit just before a big ensemble like Bruderland would start. But now this is Strauss and he's writing for an operetta, so it has this. You feel it's conversational, but there is music in it. So it does speak to what Mr. Zungu is saying here, that in as much as you take it as a recit, remember, or you take it as singing, remember that your singing must be projected in a particular way, that it must be conversational and it must make sense. And the nice thing about it, still on Bruderland, the nice thing about it is that even as the chorus comes in, even as you move into the ensemble, the chorus and the other principals come in, or principals come in, you still feel that the music, even though now we are singing a chorus, but there's still a conversation going on there amongst them. Yeah.
So that is why it is important to know what you are saying and what the other person is saying.
Yeah.
And how the chorus should respond.
Yeah.
When it starts saying breathe a line, and then what is the atmosphere? How does the chorus respond to that?
Yes. Yes.
And I know not so many people enjoy researching on the storyline. They think it's tiring, it's cumbersome, but I will encourage the choirs. I know some choirs have got the artistic committees, if you can just find people who can find out about the story of that particular, choice piece, so that when you sing it with a little bit of understanding.
Yeah.
And because it can actually elevate the performance to greater height if there is understanding to what is said.
Yes. It is important. It is important. And it brings me to my next example, since we're still talking about operettas and how different they are to operas. Let's take Grafin Maritza, for example. Lustige Zigeunerweisen. Quite a different taste to what we are used to.
Yes.
And from the moment the chorus starts with its energy and all that, it is very easy for one to be just taken by the euphoria or the beauty of the chorus and it's how sensational it is. But as you've rightly put it, it is with operettas, it is important for a chorus to make sense in terms of what they are saying.
Yes.
In as much as this one, yes, it's driven a lot by the soloist, by Maritza. It is also fitting that the chorus should know what it's saying.
That's very true.
Yeah.
As we are talking about Maritza, I will say there is a voice that is like a lyric soprano. You know what I mean? When you look at the range and the temperament of the voice itself.
Yeah.
So, which brings me to another point, that as you choose the soloist, that they fit the demands of the role. So, like in a choir, you do not choose the most, the most famous singer.
Yeah.
You choose the most suitable singer.
Yeah.
Because people might have different ranges and color. So Grafin Maritza doesn't need a big soprano, but it needs a tall soprano in terms of sound,
Yes.
So we need to look at those things also, because they matter.
No, they do. One of the things I've also picked up with it is that it needs stamina.
Yeah.
It needs someone with stamina, because it might be a good, because sometimes what actually compromises our performances is not really how the soloist started, but it's what happened in the middle or towards the end. Because she's not expected to just carry the choir, but she's also expected to take the choir through the changes of emotion and everything, and also to be able to carry all the top notes towards the climatic end of the music. So I do agree. A very tall soprano that you can find that can actually manage this, not tall in physique, I know you understand, tall in terms of sound, but also someone with the correct stamina, and also someone with, I think it needs a it has great leadership, someone with leadership kind of element in it, because maybe for a while, just for a bit, we need to try and think of ourselves in a theatrical setting. For example, in a theatrical setting, you are not in a position or a privilege to see a conductor in front of you all the time.
That's true.
So the soloist or the character then takes the leadership position. So you need someone that will be able to motivate and propel the choir. Not that the conductor will be invisible in this case.
Yeah.
The conductor will be there, but you must know that your soloist will have to be strongly or very strong in terms of leadership or character.
That's true. And then you also mentioned something about, of course, she needs to be tall and lead the music, because sometimes a soloist can make or break the performance. I had to say this, but it's a reality.
Yeah.
And somebody once wrote about mimicking, that people can mimic the sound, whether it's a good sound or bad sound.
Yeah.
So if the start is bad, it's possible that even the response by the chorus will be the same. And then everything is kind of going down. So for example, another piece, Mag der Himmel,
Yes.
by Martha.
Yes.
And then start with a tenor soloist.
Yes.
Very high, another tall singer.
Yeah.
Very high singing. But the good thing about South African singers, and I don't think we give one another enough credits. There is a lot of talent in this country. A lot of talent. You can actually have about 5 or 6 opera houses if we were serious.
Exactly.
Because it's a gold mine of voices. I think you can find any voice you want in this country. So now, Mag der Himmel, start with this tenor, it's very high.
Yeah.
And then the quartet will come and join in. So, but if that start is not good, by the time the chorus comes in, it's possible that the performance will cascade down, unfortunately.
Everyone would be demotivated.
Yeah, everyone will be demotivated. So I think conductors need to really pay attention to how they cast their singers, and not to rely on one person.
Yeah.
It's always good to have about 2 people
understudies,
because things happen. You wake up and then you have a sore throat.
Yeah.
And then what happens? There is no other singer to sing.
So you need a good understudy.
Yeah, you need a very good understudy.
Yeah.
I know how I will do it.
Yeah.
Because I might not say you are the main singer.
Yeah.
They're both competing.
Sure.
So in that way, there's no understudy among them. But when it gets closer,
then
then
choose.
So it's something that the conductors need to look at.
Yeah. I'm hoping this makes sense to conductors or anyone who is listening out there. And remember, always just feel free to leave your comments or your questions on the comment section. Obviously, we won't be able to address it now, but at a later stage, we promise we'll be able to go back to those questions. So this conversation is actually more on a stimulus basis. We know you've started the music, but we're also trying to stimulate certain questions that you might have, or certain questions that you did not have, and maybe this conversation might cause you to have that. Maybe the last thing on operetta, actually not the last thing, but just for now, just the last thing. The music. If we can talk about the music now. With operas, we know operas can be quite particular. You know, opera scholars are quite particular. They say you are Mozartian tenor, you are Mozartian, you are Verdian or something like that. Puccini singer, one of those. But with operettas, we tend to find something a bit different. There's something that is inherent in the music that actually makes all these composers to sort of like look like common. They look like one thing.
Yes.
So maybe you can talk about, I'd like us to assist them in terms of some of the idioms that we find in the music, some of the nuances that we find in the music, and two, some of even the technical things that we find in the music that you find some of them are not explicitly written down. For example, as I was making an example earlier on that, you might have an accelerando
Yes.
in breeder line or in one of the extracts from the operetta, but it's not written down. But you find that culturally, that happens through the music. How do we then advise people to go through it?
Yeah. Okay. The challenge about this one, you are right, because some things are not written down.
Yeah.
And some things are written in the accompaniment.
Oh.
And then the danger with most of us as conductors, we don't look really what is written in the accompaniment, because that actually determines what should happen in the chorus line.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes you might have crescendo. For example, in Offenbach, you might have crescendo. And the crescendo doesn't actually talk about getting louder.
Yeah.
Literally, it is getting louder, right?
Yes.
But sometimes it might talk about the tempo. That crescendo is indicative of a tempo that it needs to move a little bit. Again, because of what is happening with the text above. And then operetta has got a lot of rubato also.
Yes.
And then the word rubato literally means to steal. But the only difference is that whatever you steal, you need to bring back somewhere. So what is that you steal? You steal time. All right. So you steal time here, but you need to bring it back somewhere.
Yes.
That is Fledermaus, right? And so forth. Yeah. So you steal it here and then you bring it back there because of the style.
Yes.
And I know sometimes it becomes a little bit challenging for the conductors to bring it together,
True,
but if you can just watch what is happening in the accompaniment and then those rubatos because of what the text is saying. And then while talking about the text, because sometimes the text determine how the song should go. And then, there's something that called pattern. So like a song will have so many words that needs to be spoken.
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So sometimes it becomes very fast.
Yes.
So now the chorus needs to learn how to say these words. And most of the time is talking about Grefen Maritza.
Yes, that's German. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about right now.
It's German. So in other words, I don't know how many people learn the music, but it's very important that you speak the text. That it becomes part of you, that the tongue get used to say it.
Yes.
So that it won't feel like a foreign thing,
Yes.
And then I know many people, when they see French, when they see German, they're like, whoa, what is happening here?
Yeah.
But actually just think about phonetics of the language.
Yeah.
Because we do have these vowels. Sometimes it's a combination of vowel.
Yeah.
So I remember the workshop we were just doing, and you were talking about, you were reading the German text.
Yeah.
I think in Fidelio.
Yeah.
And sometimes you might have a vowel U.
Yes.
So when you have U, but you can actually tell that it's an O and E. So the lips are saying O, but the vowel is E. Then you have U. So it's something that we have. It's just we need to manipulate it in a way that, will make it workable for us, So I think those are the basic styles. And I know when the orchestra comes in, it's another
story.
It's another story. Yeah. But we are here, you can just ask us anything. Yeah. And if you want to prepare in advance, we're going to give you all the tools you need.
So in essence, what we're saying is that in as much as we've got all these inherent idioms that are not written, but technically things needs to be in place first.
Yes.
Because in operettas, the text itself, it's a technical element. It's one important technical element, because the lyrics are almost written in a way that rhythmically makes sense. Rhythmically, it should make sense as well. It should.
That's very true.
It goes very much hand in glove with the music. True. So it should be in order.
Yeah.
Even way before you start thinking of rubatos and inherent accelerandis that are there. And maybe Babu Zungu, what we maybe might suggest or give advice to people is that we know sometimes we can easily say, the text, if maybe 30 or 70% of the sopranos know the text, we are okay, we are good to go. It's different with operettas
Very much
because
so.
because
Very much
it
so.
will kill the whole conversational
That's
element of
very
the whole
true.
thing. So doing this texting is making sure that everyone is in par, everyone is on board, so that by the time you go into the proper speed
Yeah.
of that lustige Zigonerweisen, everyone is up to speed, and everyone is able to enunciate it in a way that actually makes sense. And then we can start thinking of rubatos and whatnot. We're having an orchestra, but going to have an orchestra on the national finals, obviously. But even though you are doing it with a pianist or with a piano accompanist at your regional eliminations, it is also important that you practice these things with your accompanist.
It's true.
It is quite important that, because this piano is also another musical commodity that needs to be used properly. It should not look like the accompanist is merely just coping with your
Yes.
stolen tempis
Yes.
or your celerandi here and there. Yeah,
It's part of the performance.
exactly.
And then some of the things you might find in the accompaniment, as we were saying,
Yes. Yes.
So I know some people wait up until the last minute to have the accompaniment. And then I will suggest that from time to time, you have an accompaniment that the singers have a feel of how the song should be. So, because if you let it go up until a week before you perform, it might be a little bit late,
True.
So these things need to be, thought about much earlier, and then practically do them a little bit earlier than normal.
True.
Yeah. Right. Regarding the operas, because there are operas, like, quite few. We have some Verdi there.
Yeah.
We have some Tchaikovsky.
Yeah.
And Tchaikovsky is something that we haven't actually done in this country.
Yeah.
And I think there's a beautiful piece from Eugene Onegin that we have prescribed. Now, that's kind of a national opera. But other Russians will think differently, because other Russians like the Russian Five, Borodin, Mussorgsky, Rimsky-Korsakov.
Yeah.
So Tchaikovsky was different from them, but he was most likely, they like him the most in Europe.
Yeah.
Let me put it like that, because he had those elements that what they normally see in Europe.
Yeah.
So the piece we have chosen, you can tell the Russian kind of melody. It starts with a tenor also, and then the tenor is singing this line in a call and response with the chorus, and the piece is in English. So you don't need to be struggling with the Russian language in that case. And again, too many words, although they're in English, but towards the end of the piece, it's very patter, too many words. We also have another kind of a national French opera in Faust, Gounod. It was done in NCF long time ago, but not so many choirs really chose it.
The waltz.
The waltz, the style, or actually, it was one of the three chosen. So many choirs did it. So although it's French, but again, you do the phonetics of it. We do have all of these vowels. So when you see the French, it mustn't like, oh my goodness, what is this? It's something you can do, because you can manipulate the vowels that we have in Nguni, Southern Sotho, and so forth.
And you're making a lot of sense with that. Especially with this one, the Faust, you'd find that, I think I've heard it a couple of times with people trying to translate it into English. It doesn't quite work.
No.
In other languages. It works better in its original language, because it's one of those operas that the librettists are quite nationalistic about their writing and how they relate to the composer, how they relate to the composition. Because the music, when it's sung in German, sorry, when it's sung in French, it makes sense even on how it lilts, or it gives you this beautiful lilting words that you need. So you can imagine with English and the vowels you have to deal with in English and so many words you have to deal with, it might be lethargic, at some. In fact, it sounds lethargic in some of the performances that I listen to. So I would really, if I were one of the conductors, I would really take that advice properly to say, if I'm dealing with such, I would probably go and work more on the words and allow the chorus to speak the words a lot more, but based on rhythm. And also while they are speaking, have the style in mind.
Yes.
That we are waltzing.
Exactly.
Sique la brise légère. And
Yes.
yes, there are
Yes.
the some certain things about French can be cumbersome. The closed airs, the open airs,
The
and all
schwas
that.
and all of that.
Yeah, your accent grave, accent, all
Yeah.
those things, and also the fact that you are not going to pronounce the ends at the end of the words and all that. So, but these are the things that one can easily access. But what's nice is that at the end of it, you come out with a beautiful performance.
That's true. That's true. And by the way, it doesn't mean that we speak these languages fluently.
No.
So we function with them in singing.
Yes.
So we've studied diction, how to pronounce these languages.
Yeah.
So conductors mustn't feel as if they're by themselves, because we are here. We can offer any help they need. You want the way of pronouncing some of these texts, you just let us know, and then we'll find a way to help you and assist.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's one of the things they can leave on the commentary section. One of the things I would also like us to talk about with operas is the similarities. You've touched on the similarity already with Eugene Onegin and Faust Gounod. Also certain similarities with certain extracts that are mainly chorus based. Like the one we were talking about earlier, the one from Luisa Miller.
Oh, yes.
Tidesta Luisa and Voga Voga Il Vento Tace, I think it's from La Straniera, but there's a different composer, Spellini. The chorus, once again, it is, when you think of a chorus, let us not be tempted to think of it from a mass point of view or from an oratorio point of view. So even though some of these things can easily sound, for example, Tidesta Luisa has got a tendency of sounding beautiful, in a sense that you would think it's something for a concert. Only to find that these are villagers that are coming in to wish Louisa a birthday. It's her birthday. But maybe the point that we're trying to bring across here is that these choruses, let us not say because Luisa Miller is Verdi, and we always associate Verdi with power and a lot of strength. Yeah. Meanwhile, it's different, because Verdi has got a lot of stuff that is also feminine in nature, or if I may put it that, for lack of a better word, things that are quite gentle on the delicate.
Yes.
Yeah, things that are quite on the gentile side of things. So you also need the chorus to emulate that. Voga Voga Il Vento Tace, yes, I mean, it's written by one of the bel canto composers, so it also touches on that.
That's very true.
Yeah.
And again, you must feel as if you are stuck. If you have a question about anything, you just let us know.
Yeah.
And earlier on, you were talking about the Faust, and then you started singing it briefly.
Yes.
So while you're singing it, I can tell that you are doing it in one, which is correct.
Yes.
It's a waltz.
Yes.
So some people see a 3/4, but actually you can do it in one.
In one. Sure.
So bam, bam, ba, dam, ba, in one.
Yes.
So those are the kind of things that we can definitely have.
Yes. In fact, they're going to find something like that when they deal with Voga Voga Il Vento Tace.
Yes.
In the middle part of it, they're going to find something similar to that, where instead of counting the entire 3, you find that you just beat once, and then it just moves by, by itself. Yeah. All right. I think we can leave it here for now.
Yeah, no, I think we've
And
covered
then
it up.
please remember, as Babu Zungu was saying, remember on the commentary section, leave your comments or leave your questions. We'll be sure to get back to those questions.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.